Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucs. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast on location here in New York on Long Island at what Ron Diaz once said and once called the Recher Riviera. We are here downstairs. There's children's toys all around me. They are not happy to not be down here because this is my office for the next hour and a half. I appreciate everybody being with me today. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at J Recher. J Recher, that's my name. J Recher. It is awfully hard. There we go. We're going to do one because I don't have my normal headset in. So I have this one in. So we're going half. So we're going to go right. We're going to go one here. Okay. We're going one headphones. We're changing on the fly here. We're making it work, baby. Again, follow me on all social media platforms at J Recher. I'm everywhere. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Those subscriptions have got it's higher and higher every single day. So thank you so much. And remember, if you want to contribute via the super chat, like we saw last week, every donation helps. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20. Every little bit helps. If you want to keep this thing going, that's one way to do it. The other is to be a sponsor, like our pal, Honest Hammer. Don't be the nail, fam. Call Honest Hammer. You got that right. 813-244-0956. You see the QR code right there. Go to thehonesthammer.com. Give my guy Russ a call if you have anything that you need. You have any questions about what you're trying to do, give him a shout and he'll be able to help you out. This is a Honest Hammer, big Tampa Bay sports fan. This is just a really good dude, and very grateful for him sponsoring the J Recher podcast. Again, 813-244-0956. I appreciate everybody. I always want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. And of course, if you want to contribute via the video chat, like our guy Robert Cochran does from time to time there in Oklahoma City, here is the link. It's right there in the chat. You can use your phone. You can use your laptop. That is the way it goes. StreamYard.com/3YM3EXY6YA. And get on the program today. It is a Monday. You got plenty to get into today. Our guy Ian Beckles is going to join us today at 12:30, as he does every Monday from the Dignitary Cafe. Make sure you go check them out, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard, the Dignitary Cafe. They got Kava, Kratom, a lot of fun over there with Ian Beckles, Tom Ponzo, and the crew. Also on the program today, we're going to talk about Baker Mayfield, why he has been good for the Buccaneers, why he's going to continue to be good for the Buccaneers. I obviously wasn't at practice on Saturday. I told you guys on Friday, before I left, before I took the plane, that he likely wouldn't practice on Saturday because they had off Sunday and they have off today. So if he took off Thursday, it just makes sense. Why bring him back for one day? Dealing with that hand contusion. He hit his hand on a helmet during practice on Wednesday. Give him 4 days off. I'd be surprised if he wasn't back in there tomorrow at One Buck Place at the Avenhill Training Center. I'll be back in Tampa. My flight leaves tonight. I'll be back around 10:30, so I will be there at the Avenhill Training Center tomorrow for training camp. Cannot wait for that as we inch closer and closer to the regular season and inch closer and closer to the preseason. We could see some differences when it comes to how many Buccaneers play in the preseason and when they play in the preseason, because their final preseason game is against the Buffalo Bills, which is a little bit of a surprise that you see a team in the preseason they're going to see in the regular season. So in years past, we've seen the starters play that last game. It's changed so much over the years. Remember, game 3 used to be that big-time dress rehearsal. So you used to play a little bit in game 1, a little bit more in game 2. Game 3, you played like a half. It was the most that you saw the starters, and then you didn't see much in game 4. Now with 3 preseason games, it eventually is going to probably go down to 1, 2 in the long run, because I think eventually we're going to see no preseason games, and then we'll see 20-game regular season schedule. But if you play Buffalo in that final preseason game, and you see him in the regular season, are we really going to see Baker in that spot? I don't necessarily think so. So don't be surprised if it's a little different this time. And we do see Baker and some of the starters in that first preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. So we'll get into that. Also, something that I just read earlier today from Jeff Passan on ESPN about the trade deadline winners and losers and why the Rays did what they did. And I'm going to read what he wrote to you, and I want you guys to tell me whether you agree or you disagree, because I was taken aback with his reasoning, with his rationale of why the Rays didn't just sell the entire farm at the MLB trade deadline. We'll check that out in due time. Well, also, I've been watching the Yankees the last 3 days. So, as you know, from New York, so I do have Yankees friends that do listen. But I also want you guys to realize, as Tampa Bay sports fans, because the majority of you are, it could be worse. It could be worse. You could be a team like the Yankees who have been absolutely pathetic the last couple of months. They made all of these deals at the trade deadline to fortify their bullpen, and those guys in their first game just absolutely crapped all over themselves. And it's not a smart baseball team. They constantly make stupid mistakes that you shouldn't see from professional athletes, and they don't get held accountable at all. And that's why, even though they went to the World Series last year, I don't see them getting even close to that again this year unless they have a complete 180. And then finally, SummerSlam last night, night 2. Night 1 was obviously Saturday night. A fantastic finish both nights. It wasn't like WrestleMania where we had the surprise night 1 when Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman joined up to defeat Roman Reigns and CM Punk. And then night 2 was, a decent match between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. But we saw Travis Scott. We didn't see The Rock. But SummerSlam, this time around, night 1, the way it finished with the cash-in. Night 2 with the big return of Brock Lesnar. We're going to give you all that information, and we're going to talk about that at 1:15 today. So again, follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Plenty to get into on the program today. And we will start with Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. And I said this as in my social media post to promote the show today. And again, share this on your social media. When you look at Baker, I truly believe a big reason why he's been so freaking successful is because for the first time in his career, he's not trying to cosplay as somebody else. He's just being himself. And if you've watched that New Heights podcast with Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey, he said as much, saying that nobody's asking him to do anything he's not supposed to do. He's just go out there and do your thing. Be you. And when you have an opportunity to work at a place where you can just unapologetically just live your life, my goodness, man, that really gives you a freedom to achieve the heights that you were meant to achieve. When you work at a place that restricts you, when you work at a place that holds you down and you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells and you can't make mistakes because you're worried about the repercussions and the consequences, I don't know if anybody can really succeed in that type of environment. And we saw that with Baker with Cleveland. Quick to, put him on the list as another Cleveland quarterback that didn't work out. Quick to get rid of him and look for the next guy. And even after he left everything out there for that team, it just wasn't enough. And he comes here, not only does he get that vote of confidence from Jason Light, but he also gets that vote of confidence from Todd Bowles, and look what he's been able to do in his first 2 years. After that first year, people were wondering, all right, Baker, what you haven't been able to do is put 2 good years together. Well, now he has. He went from being a guy that was making $4 million a year, now a guy making $30 million a year. Right. And he believed in the Buccaneers. He believed in the culture that Light and Bowles and the Glazers and everybody set after, or probably before, during and after Tom Brady's tenure here with the team. That's why he's been so good. And you look at that guy and you just hear him talk on that New Heights podcast and you see how he acts. And we all know from watching him play the last couple of years, he plays like his hair's on fire. He plays like it's the last time he's ever going to touch the field. And if you're a Tampa Bay sports fan, that's all you want. If you're spending your time and you're spending your money and you're spending your energy supporting your teams, what do you want to see from your teams? You want to see your top players giving it everything they've got to help that team win. There's no bigger position. There's no more difficult position in professional sports than quarterback. There's so much that goes into it. And if you don't believe me, and I used to think quarterback or goalie for hockey, after watching the quarterback documentary on Netflix and listening to Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff and listening to Joe Burrow and what they have to do pre-snap, that's just on the field. Forget about off the field stuff, being the face of the franchise. So many different things that those guys have to do to be successful. It's incredible. And what you want to see above all else is effort. Give me effort. And people in the Tampa Bay area have been behind Baker since day one because that's what he's shown. He's going to make his mistakes, threw way too many interceptions last year. He's going to fumble the football every once in a while, but the effort you can never, ever question. And as a Tampa Bay sports fan, that's really all you can, I think for any sports fan, that's all you can ask. You got to love this guy. You got to love him. And when you look at the pieces around him, and shout out to our guy, Richie P, the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, my brother. Just checking in, bro. Keep doing your thing. If you guys want to contribute via the super chat like Richie, you can do the same. Richie, a big-time Tampa Bay sports fan. Appreciate you, buddy. I couldn't do this without people like you. Much love, much respect to Richie P out there. And if you guys ever see me around, please don't hesitate to come up and say hello wherever you find me, whether it's coaching or whether it's at one of the games. Nathan Elliott, another one of our big-time viewers, came by the other day and said hello, and we chatted for about 10, 15 minutes. So Richie or anybody else out there, definitely please come up and say hello, and we'll talk some ball for as long as I got. It's just thank you so much, man. Can't thank you enough for doing that. But when it comes to Baker Mayfield, he's another one of those guys, right, where he's that type. And I say this out when we're talking about our guy, Honest Hammer, right? You want to believe in people. You want to know that is that guy's kind of like you. You've gone through the ups and downs. You've gone through the trials and the tribulations and the obstacles. And that's what Baker has. And I know he was the number 1 overall draft pick. So he's a talented guy, fantastic player, obviously in college. But when you get knocked down, and we see this a lot in sports, and you see a high profile guy like that get knocked down, sometimes they never recover ever. That's it. And it becomes a what if story. And it becomes a where is that guy now story. Not Baker Mayfield. He leads from the front. He leads with his words. He leads with his actions. And we're just so blessed to have him in the Tampa area leading the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't think a guy like that, his success, I don't think it stops. Like I think a guy like that is always going to be successful in whatever he does. And as much as it is because of what he does on the field, think about what he's done off the field with his foundation, with his wife. Think about what he does with his teammates, like very early on, hanging out with his offensive linemen, going to Rays games, going to Lightning games. Like he has really, and I can really empathize with something like this because I've done the same thing. I have gone full bore and I've jumped in with both feet to embrace the Tampa Bay community. I really have. And you know, I find it funny when some people are like, I can't ever give up my Chicago teams, or I can't ever give up my Detroit teams, or I can't ever for this or that. Like, you know, you weren't a bigger fan of your teams than I was of mine. Here's a picture of me when I was a kid with my mother in a full Yankee regalia. I mean, I got Yankee pictures, Knicks pictures, Rangers pictures, Giants pictures out of the wazoo. I was a huge New York sports fan. They still have a soft place in my heart. But I knew going to the Tampa Bay area, okay, you were going to have to embrace the home teams. I don't expect anybody to forget where they are, but you sure as hell better respect where you're at. And I've been in Tampa for 19 of the last 20 years, and I love it here. Well, there, because I'm not there right now. You have to respect where you're at. You got to respect the home teams. And you got to wrap your arms around the Tampa Bay area. You got to learn what makes Tampa Bay tick. You got to go to a Rowdies game. You got to go down to South St. Pete. You got to make sure that you're walking around. You got to know what West Tampa is all about. You got to drink some café con leche. You got to go to the water. You got to go to the beach. You got to go to Treasure Island. You got to go to Boca Ciega Bay, Pass-a-Grille, You got to go up to Wesley Chapel in New Tampa and see how that has grown. Like, you have to wrap your arms around the Tampa Bay area. If you want to be one of those people that gets their arms and the people of Tampa Bay to wrap their arms around you. And I feel like I've done a good job with that. Again, it doesn't mean I forgot where I'm from. It doesn't mean I don't have love for my teams here in the Big Apple. But man, nobody out there can tell me that I don't got a lot of love for the Lightning, a lot of love for USF and the Rowdies and the Buccaneers and the Rays. Can't see that. And I feel like that's a big reason why a lot of people have come over from WDAE and have supported me, like Richie, on the podcast. When you see people make that type of effort to endear themselves to their new community, I think it's a lot easier to root for them. Introduce Baker Mayfield. He didn't just tiptoe and go, well, like, I'm only here on a 4-year deal. It wasn't conditional with Baker. It wasn't, I may only be here for 1 year. Let me get to a point where, like, let me reestablish myself. Let me put myself in a position where I'm resetting my value. And then I can go somewhere else. It's not like that. And that's another thing to keep an eye on when it comes to Hassan Reddick. Everybody think this is a prove-it-year deal, and then he's going to get a big contract somewhere else. TJ Reeves on the program last week said on Thursday, go back and check it, don't be surprised if Hassan Reddick signs a long-term deal with the Buccaneers after this season. It's a good point. But look at what Baker has been able to do. He wraps his arms around this community. He's planted roots here. He's probably going to retire here. Why not? Why the hell not? This place is beautiful. He's good buddies with Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke and the offensive lineman. Look at guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who just played with the freaking GOAT in Tom Brady, and how they've embraced Baker Mayfield. Look at how the guys in the defense have embraced Baker Mayfield. That right there, that is the intangibles. Those are the type of morals and values that successful people have. Forget about sports and life in general. And I know there's some concerns going forward this year because about a guy like Josh Gazard, another new offensive coordinator. Okay, I get that. 3 offensive coordinators. This is the Baker thing. He can't have an offensive coordinator more than 1 year. Okay, fine. I don't necessarily believe that's his fault. Year 1, we know the optimist bully, Dave Canales, gets a head coaching gig with the Carolina Panthers. Year 2 with Liam Cohen, offensive coordinator with this Buccaneers team. Now he gets a head coaching job with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, to me, those guys are getting promotions because of the work that they did with Baker Mayfield. So if anything, that is a feather in his cap, knowing that offensive coordinators that work with this guy that some people on the outside thought was a malcontent, they're in a better place after they work with Baker Mayfield. That can only be a good thing in my estimation. And now you have a guy like Josh Gazard, and people say, well, he's a little younger. And watching and reading some of the stuff that has come out here recently, especially a guy from like Dan Graziano from ESPN, I've long been an admirer and fan of his. And you guys know me, I'm a big support local guy. Support, especially our guys that cover our Buccaneers, whether it's Rick Stroud with the Tampa Bay Times and John Romano and Greg Allman with Fox Sports and our friends at Pewter Report and Joe Buxton and Bucks Game Day. Like, there's a lot of good people that cover the Buccaneers. And I'm always talking about support local. But I always think it's cool every once in a while to see a national guy come in and look at it from a different perspective. Because sometimes I'm as guilty of this as anybody else. Sometimes you get so close, you're too close to the trees to see the forest, right? You're so close to everything, and sometimes you don't look at the whole grand scheme of things. And we're wondering, do we really look at this in the right way? Have we overanalyzed this too much? And Dan just wrote something for ESPN about how Josh Gazard working with Baker Mayfield, working with this guy and being in the room with him last year gives him a leg up on the 2 offensive coordinators that preceded him, because it was the first time that Baker was really working with those guys on a day in, day out basis. And I know Baker worked with Liam with the Rams, but he was there for a cup of coffee. So when you have Gazard, who's young and comes in here, and he's already been in those meetings last year, He understands pre-snap motion. He knows what another offense is like. He worked in Miami, and something that Baker said was he had to make sure that he could work an offense that knew that the defense was going to try to double team Tyreek Hill. So there's just little different aspects of the offense and learning about the offense as Grizzard has done over the years that I think it's going to bode very well for him. Here's another thing. And, talking about the offense, I know going into this year, the Buccaneers were talking about how they want to push the ball down the field more. And I said, okay, but I don't know if that is accentuating the strength of Baker Mayfield. We saw what happened last year. We saw how getting the ball out of his hands quickly, running the football better than we have in a long time, how that really brought the best out of the Buccaneers offense. Well, this year, and we're hearing this now more from Baker Mayfield, I think it's going to be a lot more similar to what we saw last year than this whole, let's push the ball down the field and, look for 35-yard completions. No. That's not Baker's strengths. You got to help him, right? You got to help him a little bit. Take some of the risk out of his game. Shorter passes. Get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Let them make moves in space. Run the football. Keep the defenses on their heels. And then this way, right? You never want to lose a guy like Tristan Wirfs, ever. He's the best player on this team. I don't think there's any disagreement with that. But I think his injury could be a little bit, I'm talking very minuscule, but a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Just a touch, a little pinch of salt. Because the Buccaneers know that the pass rush is going to get on them quicker than if Tristan Wirfs was in there. So what are they going to focus on? Running the football and play action and getting the ball out of Baker's hands quickly. I love that. So just stay with what has worked last year, and then move forward this year. Sprinkle a couple of little things where Josh Grizzard puts his own ingredients into the recipe. I think the sky's the limit for this offense, and I think this is, again, another reason why Baker has been good in the past and why he will continue to be good going forward. All right, Dave Velasquez. I'm Puerto Rican, born in Queens, raised in Tampa Bay. I believe red and pewter too. There's just something about Tampa Bay. Honest Hammer, we need more people, fans like y'all. I've never seen so many Dodger fans than I did at Steinbrenner Field this past weekend. We won't mention the Buck Stadium being less than 50 sad. And see, that's the thing too, guys. You have to realize, being in the Tampa Bay area, it's a place that people vacation. It's a place that people move to. That kind of thing is never going to change, ever. And if it does, it's going to be long after any of us are on this earth. It's a very transient community. There's a lot of people that move into it. I take it as a badge of honor. Come on down. Spend your money down here on our small businesses. Our small business owners really, it's good for them. But you're going to see that, especially teams when you don't play them that often, like the Dodgers, right? You don't see the Steelers every year, the Packers every year coming to Ray J, like some bigger fan bases. That's what's going to happen. And when you have a guy like Shohei Ohtani, he's an international superstar. So things like that don't necessarily bother me. It's just the way it goes. But I look at the Rays and I look at what they've done, and I look at the moves that they've made. And again, I'm reading ESPN this morning, and Jeff Passan writes this article about the trade deadline awards. And listen, Jeff Passan's been getting into beef with Doug Minkavich online. I don't understand the Twitter beef between media members and ex-pro athletes. Don't you have something better to do with your fucking time? My God. But listen to what Jeff Passan had to say here. He said, why didn't the Rays go full dump mode? Beyond a similar rationale to that of the Royals, the league puts the AL in awful. Okay. They wanted to give owner Stu Sternberg, whose sale of the team should be complete sooner than later, one last shot at a playoff run. Sternberg is beloved by Rays employees who appreciate his willingness to allow them to run an experiment in baseball operations. Under Sternberg, the Rays have managed to remain among the most successful teams in the game, despite a distinct lack of payroll resources. What Sternberg gave them was leeway to value things other teams didn't, to build a front office that has figured out how to marry scouting and analytics to great effect, to create a culture that has kept employees engaged where in other organizations they would have grown bitter. He was not the best owner by any objective measure. He was far from the worst, though. And even if the Rays don't claw their way back into the standings at 55 and 58, the 5 games back of the final wildcard spot must leap 4 teams to get there. They've got a chance, and that's all they ever want. I can't disagree with those 3 paragraphs anymore. You know what that sounds like? You know what that sounds like? That sounds like a bunch of kids. That sounds like my nieces and nephews upstairs thinking that my parents, their grandparents are cool because they let them eat Oreos for dinner tonight. Well, we are so appreciative. These are the greatest grandparents of all time because they let us have build an Oreo castle, and they let us experiment, and they don't get on our case for eating junk food for dinner. That's what that sounds like to me. That's why we love the Rays. That's why we love Stu Sternberg. Get real. You really think that the Rays front office, the reason why they did what they did is so that Stu can get another crack at the postseason? Wow. Does anybody believe that? Anybody? Really? You're thinking that this team is the deals that they made is because they want to give Stu one more chance? Get real. That is so far from the obvious and so far from the truth. That's the difference with national media, right? Yeah, Dan Graziano, who actually comes to training camp, right? He comes to training camp, talks to the players, talks to the local media, and then puts forth a fantastic article highlighting the great things in the Tampa Bay Area. Then you have Jeff Passan, who will not come on WDAE. He will not. I mean, has he been down here? I haven't seen him recently. And if he has, it hasn't been for very long. He sits up, does his thing, does a fantastic job. He's plugged in, whatever. Okay. But you're reporting on something that somebody told you. Something that somebody told you. Mark Topkin writes something like that, we're having a different discussion. But you're telling me that the Rays did what they did because they wanted to give Stu Sternberg another crack at the apple? That because of the appreciation of the Tampa Bay Rays members, because they appreciate Stu Sternberg, they appreciate, he may be nice to them. Do you think the people in the organization love how they do business and love that they have to answer questions from their friends and their families why their owner is so freaking cheap? You think they love that? Because I know people that work in the Rays organization, and that's what they tell me. Do you think the guy that worked outside of the Rays clubhouse for 20 years and then got let go during COVID and didn't get any kind of message from the Tampa Bay Rays? No, thank you, no, nothing. You think that guy is appreciative of Stu Sternberg? You think other former major league players that were supposed to have roles in the front office and all of a sudden they just stopped getting talked to by people in the Rays front office like that? That's appreciation. That's love. Like, get real, man. Get real. What are we even talking about? And I think more and more about the trade deadline, and I don't necessarily disagree. I know our buddy Tom Krasnicki said something about the team being better after the trade deadline. I don't know if I disagree with that, but what does that say about the Rays that they're giving up on Taj Bradley? What have the Rays done with our pitchers recently with these young guys that have been highly touted going up through the system? They're great at the reclamation project, the Zach Littells of the world, the Drew Rasmussens of the world. And Shane McClanahan was good, but now he's been dealing with injuries. But has Shane Baz lived up to the lofty expectations that we've had for him since he was acquired in the trade for Chris Archer? Did Taj Bradley live up to the lofty expectations? The Rays do a great job with these reclamation projects, the Jeffrey Springs, the Drew Rasmus, the Zach Littells of the world. But the Rays really struggle with guys that they draft and develop, whether that's on the pitching side or the hitting side. Think about it. right? Brandon Lau is probably one of the better examples of a guy that's done pretty well. Junior Caminero, okay, that's a good start. What about Josh Lowe? Jonathan Aranda, it took to this year, right? Guys you're drafting and you're developing, and maybe you're getting early where they're a prospect and you try to get them up through the ranks. Like, how many of those guys have really worked out? It's not like the Rays have gotten to the point where that they're developing these guys at such a rate where they're selling them for big time returns coming back. This isn't the David Price deal or the Evan Longoria deal where you draft and develop and you got, a decent haul coming back. Not the same. Not the same at all. So for all this talk, like if the Rays miss the playoffs again, it's not going to be, wow, changes need to happen. Wow, I can't believe this is what happened after a strong, start to the summer. They've just been absolutely terrible. It's, oh, okay. No, it's okay. They don't have enough money for the payroll. And, we're getting a new owner last year. I mean, you're talking about a couple years now without being in the playoffs. I mean, at some point, remember, the expectations were supposed to change for this team. And now they're just getting worse. And now you trade away a 24. I don't care what the return was. It was a reliever at the end of the day. You traded a 24-year-old right-hander that you had high hopes for, that was going to be at the front end of your rotation, for a guy that's going to pitch 1 inning a game. I don't give a crap if it's Mariano Rivera. And I'll tell you what, Griffin Jax is not. And he's 30 years old. And everybody's like, well, look how good he is. Taj is 24. And you're a team that prides itself on pitching and defense, and you're going to get rid of a guy like that for a reliever? You're supposed to be the team that figures this shit out. I don't know, man. The Rays really need to look in the mirror in the offseason. Stop blaming everybody else. All right, let's bring them in. 12:30 every Monday. We are live here at the Recher Riviera. It is the one and only Ian Beckles. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Fantastic. Yourself?
Doing well, man. Doing well up here in New York. I'm leaving tonight, and then I'll be back tomorrow, ready for a Bucks camp. Did you go to a Bucks camp on Saturday?
I did go to Bucks practice on Saturday. Yes, I did. I had Legends Day on Saturday.
Nice. I'm glad you could be there with the rest of the legends. How hot was it out there?
It was hot. It wasn't. I mean, you've been outside in Florida. I mean, it's hot. Period. I don't know how these cats are doing it. I mean, if I was making $20 million, I'd probably figure it out. But there wasn't a lot of legends out there, though. Usually there's more than that. I didn't see a lot of legends out there.
What was your biggest takeaway from watching the game? From watching the practice?
Be honest with you, Jay. I was there for an hour, and they didn't even have their pads on. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad. Every time I go to a Bucks practice, the last thing I do is watch practice.
Right.
Like you're talking to people, you're hanging out. Drinks. You're saying hydrated. There's no drills you can actually sit and watch. It's just a crowd reaction. It's just more being there. But I don't get anything out of going to Bucks practices. I mean, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, buddy. What? So obviously the big news over the weekend was a guy like Micah Parsons saying that he wants out from Dallas, and our friends at WDA put out a hypothetical trade that's gotten a lot of runway on social media, with the Bucks possibly trading away 2 first-round picks and Yaya Diaby for Micah Parsons. If you were the Bucks, would you make that deal?
2 first-rounders and Yaya Diaby for Micah Parsons? No. And it's not because it wouldn't make us better this year. I think it would. I don't know if Micah Parsons is going to be great for 4 more years. I just don't think his style is conducive to a long career. And he's getting beat up now anyways. If you say to me 2 years from now, do you think Micah Parsons is still going to be great? I don't know if that's the case. And if you give Micah Parsons the bank and he's not there, now you got rid of Yaya Diaby, you got rid of 2 first-round picks. I don't know if he's the right guy. I wouldn't do it for that, no.
Is it more the player or the person that worries you?
A little of both.
Yeah.
A little of both. Like, nothing that he's doing right now bothers me. The fact that him and Jerry Jones don't get along probably is a bonus for me. But it's more about, it's about your history and the way you play. And if I think you're going to be a guy 2 years from now that's still going to be playing at the same level, I would be weary and leery about bringing in TJ Watt too. I don't know if he's going to be great 2 years from now. So you don't want to mortgage everything And then for a kid that's going to come and take all the money and not be there 2 years from now, Yaya Diaby might be here 5 years from now, and you never know what those 2 first-rounders would be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually with you, Beck. My whole thing is that the only time he missed games was this past season. It was 4 games, right, at 25 years old, right? He's played in every other game. He's had no less than 12 sacks in every year, including last year where he had 12, 13, 13 and a half, 14, and 12. I mean, this is a guy, and I know you're a fan. I know you're a fan of his because he's a guy that jumps off the page, and I feel like he's a difference maker. And it's hard because we do live in a comparative society. It's hard not to think, can Micah Parsons be the Simeon Rice to this group, right? Being that established pass rusher that can come in, because as much as Hassan Reddick is a good player, Micah Parsons is a game changer. He's only 26. Yeah. So in 4 years, he's going to be 30. And we do see, sometimes the pass rushers slow down, but then sometimes the pass rushers, as they get older, I mean, they're more sly, they're more slick, and it's not just the power moves all the time. And I think when you have the guys around him, like obviously Yaya would go in that deal, but Kalijah and Vita in the middle, like they would help. You would think that it wouldn't just be him. So I'm not so quick to say no to the deal. Mm-hmm. I'm a lot slower to say no, and probably more leaning towards yes, because I feel like there's only a few guys out there in the game that I would do something like that. Micah Parsons being one of them.
It's not about his play, Jay. It's not. Because I love the way Micah Parsons plays. I think Micah Parsons comes into a huddle and makes the whole defense better because of his mentality and his effort. I think everybody would become better around him immediately. It's just about what you're giving away. That's it. If you ask me if I want Micah Parsons, go and give him the world. I don't care if you give him $80 million a year. But when you talk about 2 first-rounders and a legitimate, Yaya Diaby's a legitimate football player. That's a little bit too much for me because there are the unknowns. I picked Micah Parsons out of college. I remember watching this.
Yeah.
I go, that kid right there, he's going to be something. I get one knock on him. You know what the knock was? Not sure he's going to stay healthy because he plays too hard. And if that's the only knock on you, go ahead and pick that kid because I wasn't wrong. Micah Parsons plays at a different level. But how long? Like Lawrence Taylor played at a crazy level, but he played for like 10 years before he was ever hurt. You know what I mean? So I guess it's hard to compare the different eras, but I think it's still buyer beware with Micah Parsons right now.
Yeah, I look at Yaya Diaby and I think, he has 12 sacks in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the other thing is everybody's like, oh, we don't want to give up Yaya. Like, Yaya's not an elite pass rusher. He's not even a great pass rusher. So I think people get so, you always get enamored with the guys that you have, right? I don't want to give up this guy. I don't want to give up the first. Listen, if you're going to be good the next 2 years and you're going to make a long playoff run, your first round pick's going to be in the mid to late 20s. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're going to have a draft pick in the top 15. Like this team's going to be good. So obviously we know that those picks at the end of the first round are a lot less valuable than the top 15. Right. So, I mean, that's why I'm not so opposed to it because I think draft picks, F those picks, as other teams have said. Mm-hmm. And if you here's before we move on, let's say I say you make that deal, the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years. Do you make that deal then?
Sure, of course. I mean, that means that the Micah Parsons balled out and everything else kind of fell in the line. Now, the thing is with Yaya Diaby, if you ask me if there's one player in the Buccaneers squad that is better than statistics, I would say it's Yaya Diaby. Like, if there's one guy that I think played better than what he showed on paper last year, because Yaya, he's close to the quarterback a lot. He doesn't get a lot of sacks. But if the timing changes, you're going to see him getting double-digit sacks because it's the effort thing, okay? Because I always see effort, and I always see him going towards the quarterback. That's what used to drive me nuts with JTS. He was never going towards the quarterback. Yaya's always going towards the quarterback. I love that personally.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see this year. I'm excited to see what happens with the Buccaneers. What did you ever play a team in the preseason that you played in the regular season? Do you remember that or no?
Great question. Maybe the Dolphins for some reason. Came to mind for some reason. We played the Dolphins in the preseason a lot because they were close, but not normally though.
Yeah, because I wonder how things are going to change this year. And I'll ask you this question, being a former NFL player. So usually the way that we know how it's changed over the years, where you play a little in game one, a little more in game two. Game three was like the full dress rehearsal, and then week four really nobody played. Now, since there's 3 games, it seems like nobody plays week one, nobody plays week two, maybe a little bit, and then week 3 is kind of the dress rehearsal, and then you go into the regular season. Well, this year the Buccaneers play the Bills in the 3rd preseason game, and they play them in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think the Buccaneers should adjust, and what are some of the things that you can learn in preseason that can help you in the regular season, knowing that there's going to be a drastically different playbook, but I'm sure there are some kind of idiosyncrasies you can pick up playing a team in the preseason that can help you in the regular season?
I'll be honest with you, Jay. I don't think it gets that deep in preseason. Like, I don't think they ever call plays and go, let's not show them this or that, because you don't really show much in the preseason. You really don't. They're not going to game plan for the Bills. Like, when you're playing the preseason, you don't even game plan for the other team. Like, when we played the preseason, sometimes we didn't even watch what the other team played. It didn't matter. It was about us.
But do you think that changes now because there's 3 games? Like, I understand that with 4 and the way it used to be. But, I mean, Todd's already said. That's why this is the reason why I'm bringing it up. Not because I came up with this idea, but because it looks like Todd may change the way he did it last year, where Baker didn't play week 1, but he probably is going to play against the Titans because they said that they play Buffalo in the regular season. So I'm not taking this from my own account. I'm taking this from what the Bucs are saying,
Well, listen, once again, I think the media and fans think that preseason is more than it is, to be honest with you, because when you go into the 3rd preseason game, all the coach really wants is to go into the regular season with momentum. So if the first offense goes down the field on the first drive and scores a touchdown and looks great, and it's a 12 play drive and it takes 8 minutes, he might go, everybody sit down. You're done. And if you get stopped the first 3 drives, they may tell people to keep going. That has nothing to do with success you're going to have during the regular season. And I can tell you this, you ain't going to see Baker for more than 1 series. You're not going to see Mike Evans at all. You're not going to see Chris Godwin at all. You're not going to see Tristan Wirfs at all. You're not going to see You're not going to see Levante David out there. So success in the preseason really doesn't matter. I think it's an understatement. Okay, what you do in practice matters way more than what you do in the preseason in those games, because those games are as vanilla as can be. The quarterback doesn't have to worry about most blitzes. You don't have to worry about zones. You don't have to worry about spy zones and them mixing things up. It's about as vanilla can be. And success in the preseason looks great, but when that regular season comes, it ain't like that.
What about the trenches? Are those positions, like, is it more important for the trenches because it's a one-on-one battle? I know obviously you said you take away a lot of the kind of the scheme, but do you learn more about your skill players or your trench guys in the preseason?
Well, in the trenches, it's going to matter more than what happens in the ultimate result. Okay, say if I'm blocking Reggie White, okay,
right,
and I block him 10 times and I have 5 pass rushes and he beats me on an outside swim 4 times. Okay, now he knows I'm susceptible to an outside swim. Now, when I'm watching the film in the regular season, I see that Reggie White beat me 4 times on an outside swim. Now I got to compensate. Now he's thinking he's going to be ready for my outside swim. Now I'm going to club him inside. So if you did struggle against someone in the preseason, that is going to,
and I think that's where I'm getting at as far as like what you can take from the preseason to the regular season, not as far as quarterback and schematics, but things like that, where like what's the most pass rushing moves a pass rusher can have, right? How many? Yeah.
I mean, you could probably, very few have more than 2.
But that's what I'm saying. So if you're the right guard for the Buccaneers and they realize like, man, this guy struggles with this move over and over and over again, I think you can learn that, right? And take that to the regular season if you're the Bills. So, all right, so you're saying the trench is probably more than the skill position guys because so much goes into the success of those skills position guys, where in the trenches, a lot of it's the one-on-one battles. And that's not taking away any of the stunts or any of the double teams or things like that. But the one-on-one discourse, you could say, would probably be one of the biggest things you take away from preseason.
Sure. Like, say me and the tackle are double teaming the defensive tackle. We're driving him off the ball. You're like, okay, that's a good matchup. But you have to understand, if you're an offense and you're watching the Buffalo Bills, who you're going to play this year, and you say to yourself, man, they're weak here. that's something we can exploit in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't gonna do it in the preseason,
right?
You're not gonna do it because you don't want to show everybody that they're weak there. I mean, other people are gonna see it, but you don't want to show your hand, okay? Because once again, the success that you have in the preseason means absolutely nothing when the regular season starts, and I mean zero.
How much discussions did you have with the NFLPA? And think about some of these things with they're talking about a new interim executive director. Like, how much of that did you talk about with your teammates about like the strikes and lockouts and CBAs and things like that? Was that a big topic of conversation when you were playing?
I mean, while I was playing, things were happening. The Reggie White rule came about, free agency came about. There was whispers in the locker room, but it wasn't a bunch of, locker room lawyers in there.
Right.
It's not like we didn't worry about stuff that we didn't have any really, like there's nothing much we can do as players, to be honest with you. And the NFLPA, it sounds like it's something that is about the players, but I think we all know that it's part of the NFL, okay? Right. And they're not only making decisions for the players, ultimately they're probably making decisions for the 32 billionaire owners. So we, in a way, we feel like the NFLPA is on our side, but you can't expect them to have your back all the time, and that ain't the case.
One of the things that I was mentioning before is that Josh Grizzard, new offensive coordinator with the Bucs, he was with the team last year, as an assistant with Liam Cohen. And I think going into the season, Baker Mayfield has said as much. It's good to have a guy that you've already talked to because, listen, 3 years for Baker Mayfield, 3 different offensive coordinators. Yep. How could a guy that's already been in the room, even though he's a young dude, but he's also had experience in Miami with Mike McDaniel. He knows what that offense looks like. And, we know how quick Tua likes to get rid of the football as well and get his playmakers in space. But how much could that continuity help this year to kind of get this offense really, as best as it can to be able to pick up where it left off last year?
Well, in a perfect world, we would have been better off if we stay with what we had last year. Okay, let's just get that straight. Familiarity is very important. The fact that we have somebody coming with about the same system helps, all right? But we don't know if Grizzard can call plays when the bullets are flying, okay? Right. Because it's easy to call a play. But during a game, okay, all of a sudden it's 2nd and 7. All right? You're like, okay, things are going great. And you're in your head, okay, next play I'm going to run. Then you get up a sack. Now it's 3rd and 20. You have to have a play already in your head. And that's not a natural thing to do. And you see a lot of maybe these first-time play callers in there for the first time. And the moment could be a lot for them. Like we know, Andy Reid is not going to choke in certain situations. It's easy to say somebody's ready for a situation we don't know. It happens with head coaches all the time. Oh, I know this, I know that. And all of a sudden you're the head coach and you find out they suck in the last 2 minutes of the game and the halftime and all these decisions. And you almost got to poop on yourself for you to become great. I guarantee Marty Schottenheimer and John Gruden and all those play callers weren't that slick when they first started calling plays. So we got to give this guy kind of a grace period to get acclimated and for it to be smooth. It may not be ultra smooth at the beginning.
Marv Levy turned 100 years old today. I mean, wow. My goodness, right? 100 years old. When I saw that, I was like, my goodness, Ian's right behind him at 86.
Right?
Unbelievable. We always ask about the players that you went up against. What about the schemes? Which defensive coordinator or which team had the most, I want to say, impressive scheme to you over the years that really stood out and go, damn, man, I thought I had an idea what was going on, because, and the reason why I ask is because when we watched it at your place a couple of weeks ago, where Kirk Cousins was showing so much love to Todd Bowles. And a big reason why he was so successful last year is because he kept a lot of his notes from week 1, 3 years ago when he was a member of the Vikings going, man, Todd does all these crazy things. And, you coincide that with some of the injuries that the Buccaneers had. That's why Kirk was able to do his thing in both those games against Tampa Bay last season. But when you think back to schemes and defensive coordinators and teams as a whole, which team or defensive coordinator really stood out to you amongst the rest?
Minnesota always seemed to have, to me, it's what's happening up front, okay? Minnesota always seemed to have themes. They had John Randall, which made it, which made it hard to sleep the night before. He had a lot. but they had Chris Doman, and this schematically, it just seemed like defensively. And hey, it was Tony Dungy back in the day as well.
Yeah.
So their scheme was great. The Pittsburgh Steelers, even today, and they haven't changed their scheme ever. When you play the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know that somebody's going to come and hit you in the mouth, and they're going to fly the ball, and they're just going to be a little bit more physical than everybody else. And way back in my years, the New Orleans Saints and that 3-4 defense was a son of a bitch. And when they had Sam Mills, who I know was a Hall of Famer, but still may be one of the more underrated players I played against. They had Pat Swilling, and they had Ricky Jackson, and they had some bad boys out there. So, and they had these big monsters in the middle who nobody knows their names, but if you're an offensive lineman, you're going to know Frank Warren and those guys like that. So the Saints were always a bitch. And believe it or not, the Buffalo Bills back in the day, when they had Ted Washington and they played that 3-4 defense with Bryce Pop and all those kind of players like that back in the day, were a son of a bitch to deal with as well.
Bryce Pop. That's a good name right there.
No
you see nowadays with, you'll see a center about to snap the ball, and you'll see the guard like give him a smack to let him know when to snap the ball. For people that don't know the ins and outs and the intricacies of the game, what is that guard doing to help the center? And is that something that you ever did over the years to help out your center?
No, I think they invented that. Whoever came up with it was after I was out of the league.
Mm-hmm.
All it is the center on a shotgun can look between his legs, right? And he sees a quarterback, but he can't continuously look between his legs. Mm-hmm. It's just not something you can do naturally. So the guard is looking back, and the quarterback is looking at him and gives him a nod like, I'm ready to go. So the center can't sit there and look between his legs for 20 seconds. It's just you're going to be dizzy, and it's just not a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So the guard looks back. The quarterback says he's ready to go. The guard taps him, and then it's usually a time cadence from then. Mm-hmm. It's usually 1,001, 1,000 snap. So, as a guard, I don't want added stuff to do because blocking my guys enough. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad they didn't have that back in the day. Although, the aforementioned New Orleans, when we played in New Orleans, you could be right next to somebody and they could be yelling and you could not hear anything coming out of their mouth. It could have helped us those years back then because playing in New Orleans by far was the hardest place to play, by far.
Who was the smartest offensive lineman that you played with?
Smartest that I played with? Probably Tony Mayberry.
Yeah? Don't tell him.
Yeah.
You won't tell him.
Oh, I would tell him that. Tony, hey, listen. Tony ain't the most athletic dude in the world now. You should see him run. He runs like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. And I don't even know what Tony's strengths were.
Scooby snacks.
But he got the job done. And he played hurt. I used to call him names, but he had to be tough playing, center with a spiral fracture in his thumb and stuff like that. So it's just what we did back in the day, but you got to give him credit now.
What made him so smart? What was like some of his strengths?
Well, I played with some centers that didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Like some centers just know. Okay. Now, if you ask Tony Mayberry, who's the smartest guard you ever played next to, if I don't get the vote, I'm smacking him upside his head. Because there's a couple of times where Tony got dinged up. And I remember once in Denver, Tony got dinged up and he was like, we didn't call him concussions. We call him dinged up. Tony got dinged up. And he was like, yo, bro, you got to keep an eye on me, man. I don't think I know what's going on. And I'm like, you good? And he was clearly concussed. And I was making the calls in the game. And there was not a lot of guards that could have made the calls. A lot of times the guards were the dummies, to be honest with you.
What did you ever get close to sliding and playing another position within the game?
It's amazing. I just talked about, like, I'm coaching Chamberlain, and I told a lot of my linemen I couldn't play. I know I can't play tackle. You just don't put me out there. I won't be able to block anybody. And one year, I was the backup center, and it was because of a bunch of injuries, and I did it in practice a little bit. And I mean, like, if I had to snap it and block somebody, it's just not going to happen. It's the hardest thing I've ever seen. Like, to me, it's just not happening. And I went into the game as a backup center, and our starting center at the time, Bubba Miller, was on the ground. And I go, Bubba, get your ass up. Get up. I said, if I don't see a bone, you need to get up. Because if there was ever tape of me putting my head on the ground in an NFL game and snapping it, after that, it would be hideous. I promise you it would be the worst thing you've ever seen.
Do you think if you would have done it in college that you would have been okay and had a chance to be a center in the pros, or was that just something the way your body was, built, or way that your physical was, that it just wasn't your thing, that you were just always meant to be a guard?
The irony of this is me and Tony were talking about this yesterday, and I have big hands for a normal person.
Damn, those fingers are all checked up.
All right, I'm going to be a finger ball. That hurts. Yeah. But my hands aren't really big for it all. Tony's hands are huge, okay? And I think having big hands it definitely helps. Mm-hmm. If I had started off as a center way back in the day, maybe. Mm-hmm. But it's not a natural thing to do. And what I'm finding out is, being the coach at Chamberlain, their offensive line and defensive line, it's making me think that there's no more unnatural position in all of sports than an offensive lineman. It's the most unnatural position in all of sports, period. Because you have to find a big kid who's long and mean and has great feet. And I mean, that's also not so athletic that he'd be on the defense. So right. It's hard for somebody to fall in your lap as a great offensive lineman. It really is hard.
Last question here from Slam It on the Wood 22. Outside of the Bucks, who do you like to make it to the Super Bowl?
To the Super Bowl? Well, if I had to bet my house either way, I don't know why you wouldn't bet Kansas City just because they can make it every year. I mean, people would talk Buffalo, but I'm not doing that because I don't know if the football gods are not stopping that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, last year before that game, I said, listen, I won't bet against Kansas City, but if there's a team built to beat them, it's Philadelphia. I mean, they're really good in the trenches, brother. I mean, really good. Like, that defensive line is a son of a bitch. I mean, there's two guys inside or a problem. They were showing a couple moves, and I watched one of those two inside guys. I don't remember which one it was, but he made a move. 2.5 guys were moved. Like, I've never seen anybody do this before.
Jalen Carter?
Yeah, it might have been Carter. Like, he's lined up on the center, and he beat the right guard on the outside of his shoulder. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, these are big, nasty guys in there, and they just seem to have guys who fit their scheme offensively. That offensive line is amazing. Saquon, I mean, I know you're a Giants fan, it hurts, but, I mean, there's Saquon and there's, Henry, and that's it. There ain't nobody else. So if I had to bet offense, from the NFC, I would go Philadelphia again.
Yeah, no doubt. What's going on at the Dignitary Cafe, my man?
Just hustling every day, brother. Trying to make a buck and serving the best cobbler and kratom in town, and just letting everybody know it's 420 friendly. You know what I'm talking about.
There you go. 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Go follow. Go check them out. Dignitary Cafe, Kava and Kratom. Real chill atmosphere. Ian_Beckles on all social media platforms. Of course, we'll have the Beckles and Recher podcast on Wednesday from the Dignitary Cafe. The Round Mound of Kava Town. Ian Beckles on the program. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you later this week.
One love.
All right, buddy. Good stuff. The one and only Ian H. Beckles, the man right there. Really, really good conversations about the Buccaneers and offensive line play. Can't wait to see the Buccaneers in that first preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. All right. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Let's tell you about my friends over at The Honest Hammer. Listen, he is a guy just like you. That is a big time. I'm talking a big time Tampa Bay sports fan. Let's check out. Here we go. Let's check out the site real quick. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, 813-244-0956, thehonesthammer.com. Head on over there. They have their services, fantastic pictures and videos. If you're looking to pre-engineered metal buildings, you need work there. How about kitchen and bathroom remodels? New construction, commercial construction, interior structural renovations. This is the guy for you. Russ is a big-time Tampa Bay sports fan, just like yourself, and he's the guy that you trust. These are big moves. These are moves that are changing the way your home looks, and he does not take that lightly. 813-244-0956, Honest Hammer, General Contractor Company, CGC 153116. You can email them, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Maybe you don't need somebody that is getting work done, but you heard somebody else talking about it. Well, give them the info here, thehonesthammer.com. Again, 813-244-0956. You get a discount. If you say that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast, you can't beat that. Again, there's the QR code. Boom, right there. Scan that baby. And again, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, 813-244-0956. Good stuff. As always, well, my man Russ, fire the cannons. Fire the cannons. Nathan Elliott, Ian, number 50 all-time Beckles. Shout out to WDA for ranking him number 50 in Buccaneer history. Okay, so we were talking about the Rays earlier on the show and what's going on with them. And then you're in a position where I am, and you get a chance to see what the Yankees have done the last couple of days. And to see them, it's just mind-blowing to me to watch the Yankees and to see how poorly they are run. You may not agree with what happens with the Tampa Bay Rays. You may not agree with how the manager does his job, what the general manager is doing. Not many people at all like what the owner does. But just go watch the Yankees and watch how many mistakes that they make on a night in, night out basis. Now, they're going to beat teams because they're going to bludgeon them to death. Aaron Judge is hurt right now. He should be back soon. He's probably going to DH to start. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe he DH the rest of the season. He's going to have to get in there because they have Stanton. So what is he going to do? Play the outfield? But you watch a team like that with such history, with an unlimited payroll, be so fundamentally bad. It does not scare you whatsoever. There are so many cracks in the foundation of this team. You go to Miami, and for the first time in franchise history, get swept by the Marlins. And the Marlins have been one of the hotter teams in the game the second half of the season. Don't get me wrong. But just the combination of what they do and how well they do it and what the Yankees do and how poorly they do it, it was just like what a clash it was. You're up Friday night 6-0. You end up losing that game on a walk-off. Was it 13-12? I think it was. Every single reliever they got at the trade deadline stunk. Jose Caballero lets a ball go right underneath his glove that ends up tying the game. Then they lose the game on a squibber out in front of the plate. Xavier Edwards, remember him? Slapdick prospect that Blake Snell, that's what he called him back in the day. He's been fantastic for the Marlins. But Aaron Boone continuously does not know how to speak to the media. He always has to convince everybody that his team is good. You're the manager of the Yankees. Why are you sitting there acting like you need to tell people that they're wrong and that you're right? You've been to the World Series one time with a payroll in the top 5 every year that you've been there. You've had a top pitcher or a top player in the game every single year you've been there. And it's just excuse after excuse after excuse. Guys don't know how many outs there are on the bases. The pitching coach, Blake, is terrible. And I have a distinct advantage to be able to watch the Rays and then watch the Yankees. And listen, you may not like the Rays, right? They may not have as much talent, or they may not be as good on paper as the Yankees are. But, man, I can't tell you how many times I'm watching the Yankees game, and they go, 0-2 pitch. You got to go back to the fastball here, Rays fastball. And it's a breaking ball right down the middle of the plate, and the guy smacks it for a base hit. Not a breaking ball in the dirt, trying to waste a pitch or getting a guy to chase, excuse me. Every single time, this guy just makes the wrong call. Their whole setup, the way they go about attacking hitters is wrong. And when you watch their pitchers, they don't outpitch teams because the game plan is better. They outpitch teams because they're just physically more gifted. They get a guy in their rotation, and he's like, okay, we can't find a way to accentuate his strengths. You have to be Garrett freaking Cole. Watch Garrett Cole with the Astros. And listen, you can say whatever you want about them on the offensive side, but defensively, that guy could barely, he could not even be touched. He goes to the Yankees, and I know he's won a Cy Young, but he's clearly not the same pitcher. Max Fried's been really good this year. He hasn't been as good as of late, but I think a lot of that is just natural when it comes to their talent. I haven't seen a pitcher really come in to the Yankees organization and get better because of the coaching. the coaching and the development is just awful. How many homegrown guys have they had? There's no core four walking through that door. This is on Brian Cashman. This is on Steinbrenner. This is on Aaron Boone. This is just a poorly ran organization, and they just consistently slap dollar figures over their problems and act like everything's going to be okay. You can't compete. We're going to go out and go buy Max Fried. Oh, we didn't get to spend all that money on Soto. We'll get Fried. We'll get Bellinger. We'll get Goldschmidt. We'll spend. Trade. Jason Dominguez was supposed to be the Martian. This guy that was an otherworldly talent. I mean, he's a good player, but is he an all-star? I don't think so. Oswald Peraza was supposed to be this fantastic player coming up through the system that's going to play in the middle of the diamond. 8 years in the organization. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat this year. They ended up trading him for a minor leaguer and international bonus money to the Angels. Anthony Volpe, who came out of the gates hot, earned his spot with the team a couple of years ago, won himself a Gold Glove. I mean, this dude, and I know he's played a little bit better as of late, but a ton of errors. And his hitting is so freaking up and down. Wells, the catcher, doesn't focus behind the plate, gives up close pitches all the time, and he's all or nothing. He's 5 for his last 40 or whatever at the plate. Like, you watch this team and you go, the Rays at least have excuses where the guys that they have, they're rolling guys out there that aren't even making $10 million a year. What is the Yankees' excuse? Time and time again. And once again, Aaron Boone has to sit there and constantly make excuses for his team. It's just mind-numbing to watch and to listen to. He insults your intelligence over and over and over and over again. It's almost like Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys. When they were going to keep bringing him back, good. I just don't see how the Yankees can win the World Series with Aaron Boone as their manager, with Matt Blake as their pitching coach, and the way that they've constructed their roster and just the organization as a whole. 3 true outcomes. You're going to hit a home run, you're going to strike out, or you're going to walk. Like, my God, you got to get away from that. Because, yeah, that may work in the regular season, but once you get into the playoffs, once you get into the teams that can hit a little bit too and they can pitch, like you saw last year against the Los Angeles Dodgers, I mean, you've got no chance. You lost in 5 games last year. The American League last year was probably the worst I've seen it in a long time. When you look at it this year, teams have really turned it around. And you look at the standings. Are you taking the Yankees over the Blue Jays? Not right now. Are you taking the Yankees over the Red Sox? They're a game and a half behind the Red Sox, who didn't do jack shit at the trade deadline. Are you taking the Yankees over the Tigers? No. Not a chance. A.J. Hinch is a much better manager than Aaron Boone. No shot. Guardians, I think they're having a down year. But are you taking the Yankees over the Mariners? I think that's one of those teams where the Yankees match up well with. But would you take them over the Rangers? I wouldn't. Because I look at a guy like Bruce Bochy, and he's going to manage his ass off. Them over the Houston Astros? No way. This is going to look like just like it did a couple of years ago. They've got no shot. So when you sit there and you look at this Rays team and you think it's bad, I mean, we'll see, because this road trip is going to tell you a lot about whether this team is going to be a playoff team or not. But it could be worse. You could be the Yankees, who are free falling, and they constantly make excuse after excuse after excuse in the biggest market, where everybody's seeing right through their bullshit over and over again, and they just keep doing it. Shout out to our guy Bart Hill. What up, Jay-Bird? Had a hip nerve pinching this morning and home for the day. Hope you get better, buddy. I hope you get better. And listen, anybody else that's tuned in today because they're not feeling good, I hope you guys feel much, much better. Yeah. A lot of great stuff going on in the Tampa Bay area. I'll be back again flying home tonight. So that should be good here for the weekend. Left on Friday night, just hanging out at the house. Saturday, or was it yesterday? Was today Monday? Yeah, today's Monday. The Saturday family reunion kind of thing out there in the Hamptons, which was really nice. And then yesterday, my niece turned 7. So Sydney turned 7. A lot of fun there. A lot of Barbies. Uncle Jay on full display. That's all I've been doing, which is a lot of fun. Really wouldn't have it any other way. All right, let's finish things up, and we're going to talk about SummerSlam. 2025 SummerSlam there at MetLife Stadium. The full 2-day event was fantastic. And we'll start with night 1. Saturday night, knowing that the ending was going to be Gunther against CM Punk. And what an absolute classic. This was a barn burner. And one thing when you look at Gunther, he's not the same guy. Losing to Jey Uso, and it shouldn't matter, right? Who goes over. It's about who gets over. But there's just been so many kind of dents in the armor now. I think he needs to go away for a little bit and then come back and have another, kind of reign of dominance. He's lost too much for a guy that you built up on, this long winning streaks, whether it was NXT, whether it was the Intercontinental Championship in WWE or the World Heavyweight Championship. The shine is really worn off. He's a tough guy. And that match against CM Punk to end night 1 was fantastic. And it was a slugfest. And when you look at CM Punk, I thought he brought up a really good point going into this match about how when you're watching it, so many of his beefs have been personal since he's come back, whether it was Seth Rollins or whether it was Drew McIntyre. But this one was more about just being the better wrestler. And I like that. Gunther, this is a guy when he gets beat, now it's if he makes a mistake or he's kind of looking past his opponent and he's standing there on top of the announce desk and then Punk knocks him down or, pulls out the rug from underneath him, goes into the ring, his nose is all busted, 2 GTSs, and then CM Punk wins the World Heavyweight Championship. It's just a, good finish after a hard-fought match, but I hate how it seems like Gunther he used to be so smart. He wasn't just a technician. He was a very intelligent guy. And now they're making him seem like a big, stupid oaf. And I don't really subscribe to that. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. And then after the match, what happens after CM Punk celebrates in the ring? Out to the stage comes Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman out there in the crutches. And then he turns around like he's going to walk away, like it was just a warning shot, like I'm going to come after you. He throws his crutches away, turns around, takes his knee brace off, goes down, hits him with the suitcase a couple of times, rings the bell, stomp, 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins, your new World Heavyweight Championship. The ruse of the century. The 2 of the best cash-ins that you're ever going to see was him at WrestleMania over Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, and now this one, taking the belt from CM Punk. What a fantastic job by Seth Rollins and everybody in the WWE, where everybody's trying to ruin things by spoiler alert, this and that. For them to be able to keep it under wraps and for him to commit to the lie, I love it. I love that kind of stuff. And with that being said, one of the things that really pisses me off when it comes to wrestling, and I really hope that somebody like clips this and sends it to somebody, or we love wrestling, all those wrestling fans out there. It's a escape from reality. You suspend your belief that things aren't real, right? Because it's wrestling. It's sports entertainment. It's choreographed. That's fine. Nobody goes into Game of Thrones and is like, wow, that's not a real dragon. That's not really Tony Stark. That's Robert Downey Jr. You're like, obviously. Wrestling is the same thing. We saw that with WWE Unreal. If you haven't seen it on Netflix, go check it out. It's a tremendous documentary. But there's so many quote-unquote wrestling pundits and experts out there that all they want to do is just shit on the product the entire time, whether it's WWE, AEW, or anything. And you're just breaking down the minutia of everything. I can't believe they did this. Why don't they do this? And this guy's not getting a push. And this, you don't know. You don't know what the storylines are. And even if you do have some semblance of what it is because somebody told you, it can change. It can change. Nothing is set in stone. That's why it is what it is. It's such a great medium. It's such an awesome thing to consume as entertainment because there's nothing like it. It's weekly episodic television. It's on longer than MASH and General Hospital and Family Feud and every other TV show that you like. But for these people that get their panties in a bunch, they get so bent out of shape because storylines of a freaking wrestling company. It's like, do something else. You're just a miserable prick. You're ruining it for everybody else. I don't want to read any of the so-called pundits or experts or social media mavens when it comes to wrestling, the internet wrestling community. Zip, zilch, nada. I don't want anything to do with any of those people at all. You overthink it. You take the fun out of the reality. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? If this doesn't happen, oh, this person sucks. This person doesn't know what he's doing. Like, God, man, it's freaking exhausting. It's fun to talk about it every once in a while. We have our SummerSlam roundtable, but it's fun. Nobody's getting bent out of shape. Chill out. Have a good time. I just don't understand why people do it. Triple H doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Vince would never do this. Tony Khan's a mark and blah, blah, blah. Like, just consume the product and enjoy it or don't. But I'm not going to subscribe to your shit. No, sirree, Bob. I just don't care. I don't care what you have to say. You're just ruining it. Why would you be a part of something that you're ruining? You're ruining it for people out there. You're not making it better. You're not advancing anybody else. And those people that do stuff like that, and they want to revel in the misery. Misery loves company. I cannot subscribe to things like that. No, sir. What else? The Jelly Roll thing. Hey, everybody, again, there's another thing. People want to get upset. Jelly Roll, why was he in this match? Bro, what did you just start watching wrestling yesterday? Celebrity involvement has always been a part of the big time cards dating back to WrestleMania 1. So you're surprised that one of the biggest stars in the world trained and was in a match? Good for him. Good for him. A big shout out to Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. I thought that match was probably going to be one of the worst. I thought it was really solid. And those gals really have taken a step forward. They've gotten better. And the fact that Jade got pinned clean, oh, wow. Sky's the limit. Those are going to be two of the members of the future of this company, no doubt. I like the Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss going over Roxanne and Raquel Rodriguez. Those type, it almost reminds me of a little bit of kind of Rock and Sock Connection, that type of thing. Like an all-time great with, and not saying that Alexa Bliss isn't an all-time great, but she's quirky. She's got that dark side to her. You know, obviously the mix with Bray Wyatt over the years, and just, you know, two greats, two real big time. There's a respect level there. It's not always about the like, it's about the respect. And I think Flair and Bliss, they have the respect of the crowd, and that's why they've gone, and it's really worked so well. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I mean, just think about it. As much as we talk about Roman Reigns and what he was able to do the last couple of years, this dude was jerking the curtain at SummerSlam in night one. Damn. Fell off. He's got to get back. And then finally, night 2 of SummerSlam, when you see how it started off, when you're looking at Rhea Ripley and Io Sky and Naomi, not a surprise there because you knew who was going to win. You're not going to take the title off of Naomi after she just cashed in. I thought the Styles Mysterio match was too quick. The Valkyria, Becky Lynch, the whole thing with Bayley did nothing for me. Nothing. If Bayley turns on Lyra and her and Becky form like this power heel group like we saw with Bayley and Becky and Sasha Banks a couple years ago during the pandemic, that might have been a lot better. The tag match, the TLC match, was crazy. Spot after spot after spot. I would have liked to seen a surprise with a different winner, but hey, the Wyatt Six, it is what it is. And then the steel cage match with Fatu and Solo. Like the whole thing was, all right, Solo's going to retain the belt, and then Fatu's going to do the moonsault off the top. I guess, but no Tama Tonga coming out, no real surprises. That left a lot to be desired. But then Cody Rhodes and John Cena closing it down, night 2 of SummerSlam. My goodness, what a match. I think this has been John Cena's best match of the year so far. These guys, they almost had like a full match, and then they went out into the crowd. And then how about them coming through the stage where Cody uses for his entrance with John Cena with Cody on his back? I thought that was phenomenal. Hits him with the AA on the stage and then walks all the way down. with him on his shoulders once again. And 3 straight crossroads. Cena kicks out. Cena with a couple of AAs, then a super AA kicks out. And Cody with the salute. Crossroads wins. Thought that was cool. I was waiting for some shenanigans and tomfoolery. Nothing during the match. No sign of The Rock or anything like that. Cody gives his salute, and then you see him walking down, and I was wondering if he walks up the ramp, it's going to end like this. If he walks down the side, somebody's coming. That's what happened. And who comes out? We hear the noise. Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate, all the way down. You knew an F5 was coming. That's exactly what we saw. And John Cena gets his next opponent, Brock Lesnar, as a babyface, because I really enjoy that he's going to be babyface for the rest of the run. It didn't need to be a big turn back to babyface. He comes out, the black John Cena comes up on the Titantron, and then boom, his music hits. The graphics on there, he runs down. It was like beef. Sometimes people don't care. They don't need the full turn. Just give me what we want. Sometimes it needs to be a slow burn and a long build. Sometimes just flip the script and let's get back to what we were doing. Same thing happened with Daniel Bryan when they were trying to get him with the Wyatt family. And everybody's like, we don't want to boo Daniel Bryan. Let's just get back. And they were in that steel cage match. He turns on Bray Wyatt. Everybody was doing yes, yes, yes. Again, we were good. But last night, Brock Lesnar coming in, the end of the show, I thought that was the biggest way that you could end the show. I know people are upset because of Brock Lesnar. And they're saying, how could you bring this guy back? Because Brock Lesnar, as we know, is in that lawsuit with Janelle Grant. So he was legally cleared, which not a lot of people know. So, and people didn't know when. The WWE legal cleared Brock Lesnar to make his return well before his SummerSlam return, despite his part in the Janelle Grant lawsuit. And there's a lot of things, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here of what the lawsuit is. Just look it up, okay? They were saying that Vince McMahon offered up this former employee of WWE to Janelle Grant to try to entice Brock Lesnar to come back to the company. Now, does that mean it's allegations? It's not proving that to be true, but there's a reason why that Brock Lesnar wasn't around. They took any semblance of a sign of him out there. And you heard it just recently with Daniel Cormier from the UFC talking about how Brock Lesnar is on the ban list when it comes to the WWE. So that's the thing with me is like people are saying, how in the hell could the WWE have a guy out there when he's in the midst of this lawsuit and he's, 42 mentions or something like that? Come on. We know how the world is. We know how the world goes. We know how the world is. We know how, when it comes to power, when it comes to money, people are going to look the other way. People are going to find reasons. They're going to find excuses. They're going to do whatever it takes to make something happen. We knew that John Cena and Brock Lesnar had an incredible history. And when you look at Brock Lesnar, it makes too much sense to have him come back, regardless of what's going on with the lawsuits. It's not up to us. We're not, in the middle of this litigation. It's just allegations. If it comes out that it's true, then of course throw the book at the guy. But as of right now, it's just a wait and see approach. And if you these are the kind of things you don't have any control over. The WWE has an opportunity to cash in on John Cena and Brock Lesnar. Why are you surprised? Why are you surprised? If the people that make the decisions in this country are the people with power, the people with money, and what about the people that have both? My goodness. So don't be surprised. Right now, Brock Lesnar is what it is. I don't know him from Adam. He doesn't know me either. But we know that this is probably going to be pretty entertaining. So I'm just going to kind of enjoy it for what it is. And we'll go from there. These people that are like, oh, well, we're gonna protest WWE because of Brock Lesnar and him being in there. Bro, you're not a big WWE fan anyway if you're protesting it for something like this. And for all the things that we've heard over the years with WWE and paying people off and in all aspects of life, right? Think about it. You have, again, these are allegations in a lawsuit. We don't know for real if it's true or not. Could be, yes. We know that Chris Brown straight up punched Rihanna in the face. We know it. Yet there's hundreds of thousands of women in this country that go to his concerts, right? So, like, at the end of the day, like, what is really important? If it's not important to you, or if it's not right in your face, does it really matter to you? Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? It probably should. But I just don't get why people like are surprised by things like this. Doesn't mean you condone it. Doesn't mean you like it. Doesn't mean you accept that behavior. But again, we have women out there that know that there's a guy that has beat up his girlfriend before, and they still go to his concerts. So, like, why are you surprised? Why are you surprised? Music, television, sports entertainment. People use this kind of stuff as an escape from reality to forget about what's going on with their lives. They abide by their own rules. Not like anybody else. Let me answer this question before we go. Hold on. Surprise at the end of the show, too. All right, here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Mario, because I like answering tough questions. I scratch my head when radio stations say that they need nationally syndicated shows, bringing the station more money than more local shows. And thank you. And he says, oh, sorry. Start a petition to get Ian and Jay back on WDAE. WDAE radio got whack. WDAE really needs a midday local sports show. And thank you to Richie. No, they don't. We got our midday show right here. We just need support. That's true. I'm supportive of all the local hosts, whether they're here on YouTube, radio, or whatever. The important thing is that I get to hear their raw, true opinions. I appreciate that, Mario. Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it always comes down to the money play. iHeart losing 5% of, they needed to get rid of 5% of their people. And unfortunately, I was one of the people on the chopping block. Doesn't mean I don't have love for those people over there, but it's kind of the nature of the beast. All right, come on. You guys are going to come on camera before we leave. You guys are going to meet my nieces, Rylan and Harper. Come here. Come here. You guys are popular. Say hi to everybody. This is Rylan. How old are you?
5.
5 years young. Wave hi to the world. Say hi, world. Come here, Harper.
Here. Oh, relax.
Harper's camera shy. She doesn't have to go on. Say hi, Harper. Hi.
Look, Harper.
There's my mom, Mama Recher.
Hello.
Wave.
Okay,
Oh,
bye-bye.
she's done. Say, everybody have a great day.
Have everybody a great day.
Today's what, your mom's birthday?
Yes,
Do you know how old she is?
30,
30? Do you know how old I am?
40.
Yeah, she's the best. My niece, Rylan. Say bye, world.
Bye, world.
All right, get out of here. Go upstairs and go play with your toys. That's what it's all about, guys. And you see it. Bye. Right there. Home sweet home. And I don't get a chance to see my family all that much. So whenever I have an opportunity to be able to go up to New York and visit them, I'm always going to take that opportunity. So everybody up there needs to do the same exact thing. I know sometimes we have issues with our friends and family, and we have these beefs throughout the world. Life is too short, man. It's fragile. It just goes like that. So prioritize on kind of getting back with your families if you're estranged, and finding time to make time with your friends and families. All right, I'm going to go spend the rest of my time here with them for the next couple of hours before I hop on a plane, head back to Tampa. I'll be in town probably 10:30 tonight. Back tomorrow at Buccaneers training camp. We got some more irons on the fire, so hopefully we'll have some fun guests for the rest of the week. A big thank you to Ian Beckles for joining us on the program. As always, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Let's get those subscribers up. And a big shout to our guy, Richie P, with the super chat. Thank you so much. If you guys want to contribute to Richie, like Richie, $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, feel free, man. Every single person out there that helps, man, I can't thank you guys enough. I appreciate you all. And, of course, a big thank you to our sponsor, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, 813-244-0956. There is the QR code. Hit them up. And we'll go from there. I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your Monday. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher Podcast.